Hello and welcome into the WNK channel. I am George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here for Weather Now, Kentucky. We do have an update for you regarding tonight's severe weather threat as well as Wednesday's severe weather threat. And of course, as you're coming in here, if you wouldn't mind, tap the share button at the bottom portion of your screen. If you're over there on Facebook, share this video out on your news feed so that way your friends and family can view it as well. Especially with the nighttime event, we want to make sure we get as much information out now as possible so people can know maybe not to go to sleep at a certain time or to pay attention at other certain times. So please help us by doing that. The best way you can do it is again by sharing the video. If you're over on YouTube, you can obviously copy and share the link there as well. Thank you to everyone on YouTube and Facebook for your help with that. We would appreciate it. Of course, I'm going to give it about 60 seconds before we go into the information here. So if you're just not tuning in, you haven't missed anything. Just make sure you say hello as you come into the chat so that way I can greet you, know who's in here, and know what we got rocking and rolling. We do expect quite the severe weather tonight and tomorrow as well. Now, again, tomorrow still looks like the highest ceiling day. However, tonight has been trending up throughout the morning analysis and now going into the early afternoon here. It's shaping up to be quite the 48 hours or 36 hours, I should say, here in Kentucky. So make sure you're settling in, getting the information. If you want to watch on your TV, I recommend throwing this up on YouTube. You can put it on your smart TV that way if you're more comfortable with wanting to ask questions. Facebook's probably the better option for that. So again, we'll give it about 30 more seconds before we go into the information here. The shares are kind of lacking behind a little bit, so we'll wait until that gets up a little bit more. So again, I'm gonna put, you guys are gonna hear me say it a lot over the next 36 hours. Share the broadcast. Really, you guys have no idea how much of an impact that truly makes on us being able to spread the information that really needs to be spread, because I know there's a lot of folks talking about this. There's a lot of misinformation going out there as well. So we kind of want to help with setting the record straight here on what to expect. So again, best way you can do that is by sharing the broadcast to your news feed. Patricia, Anissa, Jennifer, Silver, hello there on YouTube. Kristen, hello there on Facebook. How are you doing? Good morning to Amy as well. Leah, hello. Matthew, hello. If you're just not tuning in here, you have not missed anything. We haven't dived in to any information just yet. Kristen, thank you for your 50 stars. I appreciate your donation. Thank you so much. There the shares go. Now you guys are waking up. Usually you guys do great on that. So to see you kind of lacking behind, I was like, what the heck is going over there on Facebook? Kristen says hello from Vine Grove. Chastity, hello. Thank you for sharing the stream. Anissa, Amy, Sharon, Robin, Ashton, Carla, Matthew, Chastity, Laura, everyone else. Thank you guys for all the shares over there on Facebook. We appreciate that. Again, you guys really don't know how many people come to us after these broadcasts during inclement weather and tell us that their friends shared the broadcast and it got them to tune in and it helped them out. So that's why we're always on telling folks to share the material. Brian says on YouTube, as always, there will be severe weather in the Louisville and Lexington areas, but not in Southeast Kentucky. We'll dive into that threat there as well. Tamara, hello. How are you doing? Christy, thank you for 20 stars. Okay. Give about 10 more seconds, and then we're going into this. Again, if you're just now tuning in here, we do have a severe weather threat for not only tonight, but for Wednesday as well. We'll really focus on tonight in this broadcast. We'll touch a little bit on Wednesday, or we'll touch a little bit for Wednesday right now as well. But we really want to take this one day at a time because, again, with these several waves of storms that we're going to see, we might see 3 or 4 waves of storms over the next 36 hours, not counting the little ones in between that. And each wave affects the next. So we want to really take this kind of just one wave at a time here. We'll briefly touch on Wednesday, of course, because that's the high ceiling day. But even for tonight, the threat is quite high. By saying Wednesday is the high ceiling day does not discount tonight at all by any means. So let's go ahead and start with the information for Tuesday here. I do have a new forecast that is ready for you guys as well. Let's go ahead and pull us over to the main screen here. Actually, let's go full display for a second and go ahead and look at this. So I showed you guys this briefly yesterday. So we're actually going to look at our forecast. We're going to look at the SPC's forecast. If you don't know what the SPC is, it's the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center. Okay, and we're actually going to look at raw model data as well. So you get to not only see our forecast and the NWS's forecast, but you get to actually see model data. And I'll try to break it down as simply as possible, but I will warn you, this is quite the complex system. I mean, when you're dealing with several waves, it probably is pretty complex, and that is the case. So I showed you guys this on last night's broadcast. This is the SIPS deterministic model guidance. So what all that mumbo jumbo means is it tries to take the information from data and compare it to past events, and then it spits out a number on where the best probabilities for severe weather are based upon that comparison. So we do that as human beings anyway. Like our first thing after looking at model data and kind of getting an idea of what might come. I think it was 4 days ago we actually saw this on model data and started comparing it trying to find comparable events. And we did find a couple that also agreed with the SIPS model. So we're going to show you this right now. Basically, what all this spaghetti noodle stuff on your screen means is that usually when you can actually read it right there as well. It says 75% of significant tornadoes, EF2 to EF5 is classified as significant, have a CWASP value of 65% or higher. So when we look at this, what we want to see, or not what we want to see, but what we're looking for is anything that's over 65, and really anything over 75 is quite alarming. And then we start approaching the 80s and 85s, you're starting to get really high on this index here. And unfortunately, I cannot zoom this in any more than what it is. You kind of just have to know where you're at on the map. Which, by the way, if you don't already know where you're at on the map, I would recommend that you open up your smartphone and look at where you're at on the map, and then compare it to big cities near you, so that way you can have an easier time looking at the maps that we publish and that any weather outlet publishes. So this is valid for in a couple hours from now. Has it an 85 in Western Kentucky, 80 in West Central, and then so on and so forth. When I click this forward a little more, you can see pretty much a great chunk of all of Western Kentucky, pretty much all of Central Kentucky is above 80. Okay, and then when I click this forward another 3 hours here, you can see that that threat moves up to the north central, northeastern portions of the state as well for up there. And then on Wednesday, it only has an 80, which is still significant. I say only because today has an 85, but it shows that for a great chunk of Kentucky, mainly central and western Kentucky once again, and then northeastern Kentucky as well. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday on the SIPS model. It basically tells us, yes, there is quite the risk for severe weather on both Tuesday and Wednesday. I want to say real quickly, thank you guys all again for all of your shares over there on the Facebook stream. And thank you for everyone hitting the like button over on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you guys for your help with that. So just real quickly, and then we'll go into our forecast and model data here. Just real quickly, just the way the clouds are looking in the sky. You can see the actual main line of storms that is pushing through central Kentucky right now. By the way, I'll open up the radar real quickly. Just want to show you real quickly. That's not severe in Kentucky. Sorry, I was on Oklahoma last night. So let's click over here. So just real quickly, I just want to show you that that's not severe. There are quite a few lightning strikes, but remember, lightning doesn't always necessarily mean severe. Okay, there's a lot of lightning with this. They're really loud. They're really rowdy. There's probably a few wind bursts with them, but they are currently non-severe. And what we're also noticing is that this line is starting to get closer to this line. And what we're also noticing as a result of that is this front line is just getting pushed. Earlier, about 2 or 3 hours ago, this was all one uniform line back out here toward Owensboro and Hopkinsville. It kind of looked like that. Now what we're starting to see is a shape where it's kind of jagged. That basically is telling us that this storm is getting pushed. So what we expect over the next couple of hours is that this side will begin to congeal into one cell that will actually become quite strong out there for eastern Kentucky. That might turn severe. We'll look at that and we'll have that information for you. What we're also noticing is that this side should start to split off from this. Okay, and that's where we see each scan is getting further and further away. So that means that this little cell right, or this little line right here, might actually produce a tail-end Charlie. What is a tail-end Charlie? What's the bottom part of a line? So, for example, it would be kind of this part of a line. It begins to curl up and spin up. It tries to suck up a lot of the energy, and then it could produce a spin-up tornado or two somewhere out in this area. So we're going to keep an eye on that for you guys throughout this afternoon. That is not the main show, by the way. That is just the line that's actually pushed through Oklahoma and Texas last night, put down that massive tornado toward Barstow, Oklahoma, and caused some fatalities out there. It has made its way all the way over to Kentucky while we were sleeping, and now it's pushing its way through Kentucky. And because we're starting to get more toward 12 and 1 p.m., we're starting to get more toward our heating time frame. So that's why this storm line might go ahead and ramp back up here. And again, we did mention that on last night's broadcast as well. So those are the clouds from that one. You can see behind that, the clouds are beginning to open up, and that's a problem. Because what that's going to allow for Kentucky to happen is, especially on the northern half, so basically from the parkways to the points north, it's going to allow that warm sector to come in. More sun equals more fuel equals a stronger storm. Okay, so that's why it's kind of a bad news bear situation right there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the SPC's outlook here for Kentucky, and then we'll take a look at our forecast, and then we'll look at the actual model data as well. So if you're just not tuning in here, we're really just starting to get going. By the way, the next SPC update, I think, comes out in 30 minutes. So look out for a post on Facebook, on Twitter. We'll give you the newest SPC forecast. This is from this morning regarding today and tonight, and you can already see Wednesday is loaded. Okay, but let's focus on Tuesday. All right. So Tuesday outlook. It has enhanced risk for pretty much the north of the parkways, going up toward Lexington and Frankfort, Louisville, including places like Hardin County, Breckinridge County, Meade County, going up toward Florence, up toward the Cincinnati, Ohio area, and pretty much almost all of Indiana. I do expect that there is a chance. I don't know if they'll actually do it or not, but there is a chance that this enhanced risk gets pulled a little bit more south to include places like Madisonville, maybe Paducah, maybe toward Bowling Green. And I don't expect it to get pulled anymore toward the southeast, but it might get pulled a little bit southwest and a little bit just straight up south. I do expect that they may have a moderate risk placed somewhere in the Indiana to Ohio border, including some maybe far northern portions of Kentucky. The reason we expect that is because that's where the STP, so significant tornado parameter values, that's where they really max out. Now that's just one composite that, or just one um, this is one index, so don't take that verbatim. A lot of people like to use that and base their forecast off that. That's not a good thing to do. That's just an index. But on a day like today, where we do know that storms are going to occur, it's probably a good index to look at just to understand where the best threat for tornadic activity is. And I think it's probably somewhere near that Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio vicinity right there. And I do agree that it stretches back out to the Ohio River. I do think somewhere along the Ohio River is going to see a strong tornado tonight, if not large to very large hail. I don't want to underplay the hail threat because everyone's talking about tornadoes, and that's obviously gets the main juice from everything, right? The tornadoes, everyone gets kind of going on that. But I do want to point out that the hail threat is quite large as well. So here's the hail threat map for tonight. You can see a 30% risk for hail is placed for pretty much all of Kentucky that's north of the parkways. All right. And a 10% probability of significant hail, meaning greater than 2 inches in diameter. So golf ball sized hail, if not larger tonight, is absolutely possible and likely probable for some folks. I do think this is shifting more toward a tornadic threat, less of a hail threat, but we still have to respect the hail threat because hail can cause, in some cases, just as much, if not more, damages than tornadic activity. So you can't overlook the hail threat. The severe wind threat is not extremely high tonight. We don't expect multiple pulses of straight line wind damage. Now, of course, in some isolated cases, there could be, but we don't expect some super crazy bad wind outbreaks. So that's Tuesday's outlook. Wednesday is looking a lot more potent, and I do think there will be a moderate risk somewhere in Kentucky for Wednesday. I don't see a scenario where we get through tonight's update. It might not happen this afternoon. It might not happen just yet. But by tonight or the overnight hours when they do their update around 1 a.m., I do believe that somewhere, either in northern Tennessee, southern Kentucky, someone from Bowling Green toward Nashville, somewhere there's going to be a moderate risk. I don't see a scenario where there's not a moderate risk placed, unless things really just trend down on model data, which is absolutely possible. But given everything that we've seen over the last 36 hours and everything that's kind of going on today, I do think that somewhere from basically Bowling Green to maybe even Hart County and somewhere in that southern central Kentucky area should have a level 4 out of 5 risk from the SPC by about 1 a.m. Maybe tomorrow morning. That's the overall outlook for Wednesday. Here's the tornado outlook. You can see it also has a hatched area for a great chunk of western and central Kentucky, basically from, let's say, southern Louisville to Hardin County, going out toward Taylor County and Dare County, and then out there toward the Somerset areas, back over to the west to include places like Bowling Green, Paducah, Madisonville, and Owensboro, places out there in west and west central Kentucky. The hatched area is a 10% or greater probability of a significant tornado. Again, a significant tornado does mean an EF2 or greater. And I do think that this probability will likely go up as well. This is, in my opinion, is more of around a 25% risk, especially for places like Bowling Green, Hart County, and again, once again, that south central portion of Kentucky. Now, we'll warn you that model data has been kind of bouncing back and forth on the exact placement for Wednesday. Okay. On some model runs, the greatest threat for the most violent weather on some models is more toward the Elizabethtown area, going up towards north central Kentucky. Okay. And on some other models, like the Rapid Refresh and the HRR model, that greatest threat is down toward Bowling Green, somewhere in south central Kentucky, as well as the Paducah and Mayfield areas. Okay. Now, that's got a lot of waffling to do, and what happens today will directly affect exactly where that storm track is for tomorrow, which is why we have not made a forecast for tomorrow just yet. We do hope to be able to make one either this afternoon or late tonight, just kind of get a general outlook out there. But greater risk is tomorrow on Wednesday. That's where the greatest risk is. But tonight we cannot overlook tonight, guys. We you can't, especially when we're talking about nocturnal events. So talking about that, here's our forecast for tonight. We have updated it. This is actually not the correct one because, of course, I would have the old one pulled up because, you know, this is kind of how today's gone. So I'm going to show you this one, and I want to show you this one. Let's start with this one real quickly, okay? So this is our forecast for tonight. You're going to see something new that we haven't added in quite some time. Okay, it's a level 4 out of 5 risk, and it does exist for places in north central, and far northeastern Kentucky, basically from Florence, Louisville, going over to the Breckenridge and Meade counties areas. Okay, that is a 4 out of 5 risk. 3 out of 5 risk does exist for pretty much a great majority of Kentucky, basically all the way from Ashland to Paducah and places in between. And then a level 2 out of 5 risk includes Harlan and Pikeville, and that's far southeastern portion of Kentucky. As you can tell, there is not a 1 out of 5 risk or a 0 out of 5 risk. So if you're going to ask me, is my county going to see such and such, or is my zip code going to see such and such, and you know, whatever it may be, the answer is it's probable. Okay. Now we'll warn you that, and I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you model data as well. So don't go anywhere. I'm going to show you model data so you can kind of see it for yourself. That just because we have the entire state painted does not mean every single person within the entire state is going to see exactly what we say. Okay. This is more of an isolated threat. All right, we're not talking about. What am I hearing? Oh, it's just a bird outside. I thought I had like music playing or something. But what I wanted to say is that we're not talking about an organized line of storms coming through. What we're talking about is more of a discrete supercellular look. And what that means is that these cells can. I'm trying to think of what I can use here. Okay, let's use my phone. Okay, so on the back of my phone here, but use this as a base. What I'm basically meaning is when you're talking about a line of storms, right, that goes left to right, that takes the whole line and it moves down, it covers a great coverage area. When you're talking about supercellular, you might have one cell here, one cell here, one cell there, one cell there, and then everywhere in between gets gapped, right? So I don't want anyone yelling at me tomorrow if you come to me and say, hey, nothing happened in my county last, or my specific zip code last night, because we're telling you right now that some people are going to miss out on this. Thankfully, be grateful you're going to miss out on this, right? And then some other places, I mean, it could even be a scenario where we have, and now this is just an example, so don't take this verbatim here, but it could even be a scenario where Radcliffe, right? Or yeah, let's just say Radcliffe right here gets a supercell, okay? Where E-Town doesn't. Okay? It could even be that close, all right? So I want to just make that very clear that we're not talking about some wide blanket of coverage here. This is an outlook or probability map, okay? All right, so that's the probability and outlook map. Here's the threat type map. So you'll see here we've written near 3 p.m. Eastern time, supercells will pop in western and central Kentucky. These cells will pose a 10% tornado, 30% large hail, and damaging wind threat. Be on high alert. You can see here that the hail and wind threat box over here is almost maxed out. The tornado threat, I probably could have put that up one more, but I'm going to leave it there for now. The 2 red ones are for the red zone, and the purple one is where the level 3 out of 5 risk for tornadoes extends. So that's kind of how you read that. So it's a 2 out of 5 risk for the red zone for tornadoes. They have 3 out of 5 risk for tornadoes in that purple, pink, whatever you want to call it, zone. And the threat is from Tuesday from 3 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern time. That's our forecast. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual model data itself here. Got to give you a look at what to expect. Let me see here. No, it's not a good model. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Did you hear it in my throat? I got a free water bottle, guys. My allergies have just been absolutely killer lately. Absolutely killer lately. All right, so let's go ahead and pull up this and kind of just take you through. Let me see how far this goes out real quickly. That does not go out far enough. So let's go back to an old run. Okay. So here's kind of the HRRR models look for tonight, and then we'll look at the NAM3K models look. So this is the current line right now. You can tell it's pretty good on it. It does show that one part of that line that we talked about, breaking off, perhaps spinning up, making a left turn, and perhaps producing some large hail, maybe even a tornado out there somewhere near Lexington, probably just east of it. Again, that would be for here in about an hour or so. We're going to keep an eye on that. I'm not exactly buying that 100%, but it's a possibility. So there's your main line from this morning that's making its way out of Kentucky, and then kind of just look back here out toward western Kentucky and just kind of see what we're talking about there. It's that popcorn type of look. They're just going to pop up, you know, and that's what I'm talking about. Whereas here earlier, you had the full line, so it's pretty much a blanket coverage, a pretty easy forecast for this morning, really. But out here, you got those cells just popping up. And this is what we're talking about. Cell in Breckenridge County might miss this county down here. Cell in Bowling Green might miss this county. It's not going to be 100% coverage, perfect type of forecast. Okay, these are supercells that are popping up. Now, they look like they're not very crazy on radar here, but I tell you, when I open up the information like this right here, when I open up the information out here and look at it, don't pay attention to that. That's just automatically generated. Don't look at that. But when I just look over here to the left and we look at these metric boxes and everything's lit up, right? So it doesn't look like anything super impressive on the actual brief activity itself, but when we go to actually look at the information behind it, it's impressive. Okay. So as it pushes on through, this is valid for 4 p.m. Eastern time. Now you can see a few cells are along the line of I-65, and don't take these locations of these cells 100% verbatim. I mean, for example, this cell that's showing up south of Louisville could be in Louisville. In reality, these are just best guesses by the model. So don't take the location of each cell verbatim, is what I'm basically trying to get at here. So we have a few cells popping up here toward Elizabethtown and I-65 corridor. Something we're also noticing on model data as well are sister supercells everywhere. And what we mean by sister supercells are two supercells that are right next to each other that might merge together. When they merge, it's almost 90% a tornado almost every time. So we see a sister supercell up here along the river, a sister soup over here toward Henderson, a sister soup over here toward the I-65 corridor in Hart County, and a sister soup somewhere else. I just saw it at the corner of my eye. I can't remember where. But again, don't take those locations 100% verbatim. What we're looking at here is the overall general outlook, okay? This is valid for 5 p.m. Eastern time. A bit of a calmness period. I'm not really buying that. But then you got a couple of big cells out here towards central and central eastern Kentucky. A couple of small hell producers out there for far eastern Kentucky, perhaps sister supercells up here toward northern Kentucky as well. As that pushes on forward to 6 p.m. Eastern time, kind of gets out of the way a little bit. Get a little bit more of a break. Yes, there's still supercell action going on down here toward Bowling Green, somewhere up there toward the south central portion of the area. Once again, another big hail producer out here toward western Kentucky. As that pushes on forward to 8 p.m. and 9 p.m., you'll start to see that it starts to form more of a line. So now we're looking at more of a wind and hail threat. So the afternoon, in my opinion, basically from 3 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, is more of your tornado threat. When you start getting toward 9 p.m. to midnight, I think we're looking at more of a hail and straight line wind threat, because they start to congeal into more of a line. Now you have something that's jumping out here in front of everything. And really, guys, it's a lot of you are going to ask, and then, by the way, once we get to about midnight, 1 a.m., they begin to congeal into a big, just massive, heavy rain shower line. A lot of the energy starts to finally die down, and it's just massive rain showers throughout the early Wednesday morning period. That's kind of how the timeline looks there. I know a lot of you are about to ask me, well, George, can these storms that we saw this morning and the storms we're going to see in the early afternoon, can those wipe out the energy for the storms that are projected to be stronger later tonight? The answer, in my opinion, is no. Because what the HRRR and even the NAM3K and even the rapid refresh model, so those three main models that we look at for this close, they're projecting a solid state or steady state environment. Basically, what that means is that unless there's an absolute washed out of storms coming through, and I'm not talking about an hour of rain like we saw this morning, I'm talking about an absolute 4 to 5 hour just monsoon, okay? Unless that happens, which it likely won't, the environment will be able to overcome any type of rain that does occur and quickly recover to support strong to severe weather once again. So even if I go to look at the current analysis, right? I mean, even here at noon, after we just had hours of rain showers, right? The Cape is already back up to 1,500, 2,000 in central Kentucky, 3,000 in south central to north middle Tennessee, right? There is a small cap in place where this blue is, or that's a small cap, but I do expect that to get broken once the lower level jet moves in and those winds start to pick up. It'll shred that cap apart. We saw it in Oklahoma last night. It'll shred that cap apart. So that's kind of where we're at for now. Again, if you're just not tuning in or missed it, here's our forecast for tonight. Let me pull up the one with the names on it before I get yelled at. There's our forecast for tonight. Again, a level 4 out of 5 risk does exist for north central and northeastern Kentucky, 3 out of 5 risk for a great majority of Kentucky, and a 2 out of 5 risk for southeastern Kentucky. All modes of severe weather are possible. Large to very large hail, at least golf ball size hail, might occur in some places, especially that 3 out of 5 zone. We could see a few tornadoes tonight, a couple of which might be significant. Significant, once again, meaning EF2 or higher. That likelihood is greatest in that pink or purple zone, although we still can't rule out that risk in the red zone as well. So just want to point out those threats to you real quickly. Let me go ahead and get a few of your questions. I'm not going to go into specific towns and counties because we just don't have the time for that. I got to get over the new data that's coming in now, and we got a conference call with the National Weather Service at 1 that we got to hop on. But outside of that, I'm not gonna take too many local town questions and zip code questions. But if you have some general outlook questions for me, I would love to answer them for you. By the way, real quickly, thank you guys again for all the likes and shares on Facebook. We appreciate your help with that. And let us go ahead and take a look. Belinda, thank you for your 50 stars. I appreciate that. Thank you for your star donation. Thank you so much. Daniel on YouTube says, "Can you check Fortville, Indiana?" I don't really cover Indiana, my friend. We focus mainly on Kentucky. Yeah, Allison. So far Eastern Kentucky, it'll be the later part of the time frame. No time frame for tomorrow yet. If not, when will you? So time frame for tomorrow is likely very, very late on Wednesday night, going into Thursday morning. So that's likely the time frame for tomorrow. Again, how this system acts today can interrupt that timing for tomorrow or change it. So that's why we haven't really talked too much about the specifics for Wednesday, despite it only being 24 hours away. And there's just so much unknown. We have to get through today first. New to Kentucky. Do you think school will be canceled tomorrow? Um, no, I don't think so because mainly a lot of this stuff is coming outside of school time hours. So I don't make those decisions for or school communities, but I don't. If I were running the school systems, I probably wouldn't cancel because much of this is coming outside of school time. Now, of course, if someone gets hit hard tonight and they don't have power for school tomorrow, obviously that's a different scenario, a different conversation. When you're talking about just general outlook threat wise, I think a lot of this comes outside of school hours. Do you think it will calm down enough at midnight to sleep? I want to get enough rest. I do think by the time we get to about midnight to 1 a.m., maybe 2 a.m., I think things start to taper down. We'll have to play it by ear. I'll give you guys the all clear whenever we can. Caitlin says, "How are you feeling about this? What is your opinion?" I can just tell you this. I can just tell you how we're working. So, I mean, we're working this like we worked the April 2nd storm. Okay, the one that came through that produced 20 tornadoes for Kentucky. Now, does that mean 20 tornadoes are on the table once again? No. But what that means is that we're taking this as seriously as we took that threat. Okay. My opinion on this is that this is quite the threat. I don't really want to word it too scarily because there's so many sensitive people, and if I say one thing wrong, I'm gonna part of my language. I'm gonna piss off half the people, and I'm gonna make the other half of the people happy. So I don't want to say nothing too much about it, but my opinion is to just really pay attention to the forecast tonight. Take the time now, and when you get home from work today, please make sure you have fresh batteries in your weather radios and your flashlights. I know a lot of us think that nothing's going to happen to us, but we all think that until something does happen. So take the preparedness, make sure that you have alerts turned on for either our page or another trusted source that you may have. I don't care who it is, just make sure you have alerts turned on for somebody. Um, and just make sure you have multiple ways to receive those alerts and notifications, whether it's from us, whether it's from the National Weather Service, or some other trusted outlet. Just making sure that you're staying tuned tonight because I do think that this is a serious threat. I really do. Do I think it's a historical threat? Yet to be seen. But I do think this is a serious threat and it should be taken very seriously because even if you just get large hail out of this, that can be extremely damaging. So make sure you're covering your vehicles tonight. I know it's a pain in the butt, but just make sure you're covering your vehicles tonight or getting them under some sort of garage or a shed or something. Um, Confused on Wednesday. So Tuesday tonight, the threat is from now until about 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. Wednesday morning. Okay. And then we'll have a break throughout Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, might have a few showers then. And then another threat arises late Wednesday going into Thursday morning. So I hopefully that clear that up for you. Elijah says, "You think we could see a high risk for tomorrow?" Elijah, I don't think so. I do think a moderate risk is possible. I don't know if it's probable because I just don't know what they go through there. Um, do I see a high risk? Um, you know, I I think you could. I think you could. Do I think it's possible? No, and here's why. There's still a lot of questions for Wednesday. Now, Wednesday, there's a crap ton of storm juice, and the winds mixing above our heads are super ideal for severe weather. So all the ingredients are there for Tuesday or for Wednesday. We got dry air from Mexico in the upper layers. Okay, we have moist air from the Gulf of Mexico in the lower layers. So that's there, and that's something that we usually lack. So just a little heads up. The reason a lot of our severe systems end up busting or not living up to their potential is because oftentimes we lack dry air. You have to have dry air several thousand feet up to force the storm to be more surface based. Okay. So a lot of times we lack that dry air. Um, we won't lack that dry air tomorrow. So tomorrow, to me, is the highest threat day that we've had since probably 2021. When it comes to the exact amount of energy and storm juice that we're seeing, as well as wind energy, all that yada yada, all that good stuff. The question is storm mode. Okay, so those of you that don't know, there's several different types of storms. I think there's like 9 or 12 different types of thunderstorms. Okay, storm mode is going to be super important tomorrow. Do storms come through in a supercellular fashion and then turn toward more red line, right? Because if they do that, well, they can be way more severe, right? They can get a lot more significant tornadoes in that fashion. Or do they come in more of a line and cause a QLCS event, basically a massive windbag machine that can also include a few spin up strong tornadoes and a lot of large hail? So storm mode tomorrow to me is the biggest question, and that might be the biggest reason as to why they don't go with a high risk tomorrow. I do think a moderate risk is appropriate, especially right now for places in South Central Kentucky. All right. Now, when it comes to high risk, that is incredibly rare. In fact, the one that they had in Oklahoma yesterday was the first high risk in over a year. And so it's extremely rare to get. I mean, it's even pretty freaking rare to get a moderate risk, especially in Kentucky. So, with that said, I don't think a high risk is probable, but I do think a moderate risk is possible. Jessica, really just anywhere between 3 p.m. to midnight Eastern time, really. There's going to be several cells that pop up throughout that entire time frame. I think we're probably good there. I would just end on this note, guys. We'll be here for you throughout everything. You know, our slogan is relax, WK has your back. And it's true. We do have your guys' back. Even when we're not live or actively posting, I promise you. Um, I think I took an hour nap yesterday at some point because my eyes were just killing me from looking at the computer. But from 8 a.m. until 11 p.m., outside of about 2 hours to eat and nap and shower, we were back here at this desk. Okay. We got your guys back. So don't be anxious. Don't think that you're alone. We got your guys back. We're going to be live if anything comes up. We'll probably do another broadcast tonight, and then we'll be live for the duration of the event as well. So we'll be here for you guys. Don't worry. The most times that injuries or deaths or hazards occur from tornadic activity is because people aren't paying attention. Okay, so as long as you're paying attention and you know what to expect and you have multiple ways to receive alerts, notifications, you're going to be okay. I promise you. Unless there's just a historical EF5 tornado that comes through here, and I don't see that happening. Or I don't. Um, 9 times out of 10, most injuries and deaths from tornadoes occur because someone's trying to take a picture or video. And they're outside and they're thinking they're invincible, right? Or they're just completely ignorant to the fact that there's storms occurring and they just don't know how long or how bad those storms are, right? So they're not taking it seriously. So long as you take the threat seriously, this is what I always do. This is what I always tell my family and friends, right? Even if I'm wrong, okay? Take the threat as seriously as you would any threat ever, right? On every storm chance that you get. And if you're let down by it and it busts, in your opinion, or it doesn't happen in the exact way as it's forecasted, then you're just thankful. You're grateful, right? So that's what we go for. Our role here to you guys is to forecast the facts, right? A lot of times those facts will change by last minute, whether in a good way or a bad way. It almost always happens here. We're almost never 100% correct. No one is. So what you do is and it's really cliche, but you just prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Truly, and as long as you do that, you're gonna be fine. So yeah, see that's the problem. What Angie just said there, that's the problem with risk maps is that if you don't see that high risk and say you just see a moderate risk, then you're not paying attention as much. I could not disagree with you more, Angie. I am, and with full respect as well. With full respect as well. Just because there's not a high risk placed, or just because there's not a moderate risk placed, does not mean that it won't happen. I would like to remind you that on April 3rd, when we had the 20 tornadoes come through Kentucky, it was just an enhanced risk. So anything from me, if you guys want to know my opinion on things, anything that's 3 out of 5 or higher gets my full attention. Okay. Anything that's 2 out of 5 or lower kind of gets some of my attention. I pay attention to it, but I'm also like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Just me personally. Anything 3 out of 5 or higher is absolutely worth watching. And just a real quick note to you as well, a couple weeks ago, there was a tornado in Kentucky with a 0 out of 5 risk. There was a tornado in Tennessee yesterday with a 1 out of 5 risk. So that's why I really don't like doing these risk maps. I really don't like when the NWS does risk maps, because when people don't see those real flashy colors, they don't pay attention. And the next thing they know, a tornado is wiped out of town. So with all respect, truly, I just had to make sure that was a very clear point. Just because there's not a high risk does not mean to take this not seriously or that we will be good, right? We want to make sure that we're staying alert and up to date on what to expect. So that's my 2 cents. If you have missed anything in this video, I have to hop off here, so now I got to get ready for the conference call with the National Weather Service. If you have missed anything in this video, there will be all the information on our YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for you to watch at any point that you would like. We're also going to make a forecast update here, probably at about 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. You can read the post on that either on Twitter or on Facebook. Until then, stay safe, Kentucky. Oh, okay. Yeah, I want you to know I meant no disrespect by that, but I wanted to clear that up in the chat. No, I didn't want there to be any confusion on risk. I personally, guys, I know you guys like viewing these right here. I genuinely hate doing them. But not because I don't want to do them, but because they can be so misleading sometimes, not even intentionally. But if you don't see that risk in your area and you're like, let your guard down, and then last minute changes and you don't check back to the page again, right? Then you had a false sense of security. I hate doing them. They're so pointless. But I know you guys like seeing them. And honestly, whenever I was just casually watching weather as well, I like seeing them too. And they do help. But if changes occur last minute, then you're out of date on what to expect unless you've been glued to the page. So that's what we're always telling you guys. Pay attention for updates. Truly. All right, I'm out of here before I keep rambling and yapping on. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video by WMK. I'm Chief Forecaster George Herbig. Until next time, stay safe, Kentucky.